On Friday, March 17th, we have a new moon in Aries. The days leading up to this new moon are big, full of lots of energy. This new moon is the peaking point of all of this really intense Aries energy, and these days leading up to it are probably not going to be the most pleasant, to be quite honest. So let's dive right in. The days leading up to this new moon, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Chiron, which is our deepest wounds. It is the wounds that will never heal, that require continuous tending. And in this continuous tending of the wound, we discover the greatest medicine. And this greatest medicine becomes our gift into the world. Now, Chiron being in Aries, this wound is around I amness, my right to exist, my right to be, my I am out into the world. Chiron is together with Eris. Eris is the goddess of discord and truth. In myth, she was the only goddess not invited to the wedding at Mount Olympus, and she showed up anyways with a golden apple and threw it on the dance floor and said, "For the fairest." And all of the goddesses got into a fight, and that is said to lead to the Trojan War. She is the fierce protector of those who have been outlawed, who remain on the outside, who have been exiled. And she is the goddess for truth. It is chaos and discord for truth. She creates these eruptions, these disruptions in life so that we are forced to look at something through the lens of truth. We can no longer believe these falsities. So Eris and Chiron have been doing this dance for a little over a year now. This has been one of the main archetypes influencing us 2025 and 2026, and they are finally beginning to separate. We have Kali Ma, the ego slayer. Kali Ma is a Hindu goddess, a fierce mother goddess. She is the spiritual warrior. She is the ego slayer. She is the one who is going to come in with fierce grace with a garland of skulls around her neck. And you know what that garland of skulls represents? The demons she slayed. What are the demons? The shadow aspects of you, to be quite honest. The parts of the psyche that oppose the evolutionary aspect, the parts of the psyche that are anti-consciousness. So Kali Ma, ego slayer, spiritual liberator, fierce grace, together with deepest wounds, and the goddess of chaos and discord for truth. There is a lot of truth around our deepest wounds. On Wednesday, the sun conjoins them, the conscious part of self. So this is going to be really loud. We have two goddesses of truth and the conscious self all pointing at this, at the deepest wounds. And when I feel into this, my sense is we're in the midst of this Aries energy. We've got, you know, at one point we have 12 points in Aries, planets, asteroids, 12. Okay, that is unprecedented. That is a whole lot of Aries energy. And Aries is initiatory fire, cardinal fire. It wants to go for the sake of going. It is the individuation, right? Pisces, which comes before, is the dissolving of self into the infinite, all of everything. And then Aries is born, the self, the individuation. It is I am, and it wants to create, it wants to go, it wants to forge forward. But sometimes that can look like just going for the sake of going. In the larger scheme of things, we are in this moment in time of this metamorphosis of the old world. The old self is dying, and the new world, the new reality, the new version of self is being born. And it is this complete metamorphosis. It is this old form is completely dissolving to mush. The caterpillar in the cocoon, the caterpillar no longer exists, and from this metamorphosis, the butterfly, a whole new form will emerge. Every cell of our being, every cell out into the world is going to be affected by this. This Aries energy is what is propelling us into this new being, this new form, this new reality. You may find yourself creating new things. You may find new aspects of self coming online, sacred technologies coming online, but there is this large momentum and energy pushing us forward into the new, in whatever that looks like. This Chiron, Eris, Kali, the sun aspect is saying, hold up, the wounds will not get left behind once again. if you really want to make it into the new, if you really want to create that new dream, if you really want to step out into this new version of self, there is some old patterning, some old wounding that needs to be looked at, that needs to be metamorphosized, alchemized, and we cannot move forward without this piece. I think it's really profound that this conjunction is happening right before the new moon. The moon is in its final phases of shedding. We are doing this final shedding and releasing before this new cycle begins, and this Chiron, Eris, Kali, Sun aspect really points to that. We have Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus. At the end of the month, Uranus will do its final push into Gemini. That is another one of the biggest transits this year. With Uranus moving into Gemini, we have all of the outer planets finally in their new signs. We got a taste of this in July, August of 2025, and now it's here for good. Uranus being at 29 degrees of Taurus is like the last push, the last hurrah, the last awakening of these deep, fixed psychic structures. Taurus is fixed earth. Uranus, radical lightning bolt change. It is the radical awakener. It comes in with this high voltage energy and just shakes shit up. When we have Uranus and Taurus, we feel a lot of seismic activity, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. And yes, we see that out into the world quite literally, these seismic activities happening, but we can also feel that in self. I was talking to a dear friend today about this subject, and she was saying she feels a lot of seismic activity in her life. These things, these fixed structures and ways of being are just being shaken up to release what cannot come into the new. Thursday through this new moon into Saturday, we have Mars and later Mercury coming into a sextile with Pluto. Mars, the action-oriented part of self. Mars rules Aries, so Mars and Aries really have a very similar frequency. Mercury, the mind. Pluto, the deep unconscious, the evolutionary force that is propelling all of us. So we have the action-oriented part of self and the mind in this flowing, harmonious aspect with Pluto, with the deep undercurrents, the deep evolutionary force that is propelling all of us forward. This, in my opinion, can be a supportive aspect. It can be challenging, but if we are open to the depths, it can give us a sense into which way the current is flowing. Pluto is also about power, so this can be reclaiming more of our power and stepping into next right alignment with the flow of life. Let's circle back to this Kali, Chiron, Eris, Sun piece for a minute. As I have been doing my own descents into my shadow territory and into the underworld, I'm realizing that everything that is my shadow exists in the context of the larger collective shadow. Here in the West, we like to think that we are extremely individualized, like we just live in a very individualistic culture, and we sometimes forget that we exist in the larger culture. We exist in the context of the larger environment of something larger around us. And I'm feeling this very profoundly in shadow work. The personal unconscious is the doorway in to the collective unconscious. What exists in the personal shadow material of the individual unconscious exists in the larger context of the shadow of the collective. I'm realizing all of these things that I thought were like shadows about myself are psychic structures that were imposed upon me from thousands of years of collective shadow. And this can be quite liberating, honestly, because it's not just this negative quality about myself. It's a result of thousands of years of history that I was then born into. And this is how I'm feeling this Kali, Chiron, Eris, Sun piece here. Yes, it is shadow material. And yes, it's going to feel personal. The personal unconscious is the doorway into the collective unconscious. However, your story exists in the larger context of humanity and of history. I'll use an example here that has been loud for me recently is, let's say you have a wound around visibility, around being seen, and let's say you are a woman, you're in a feminine body, or you exist in primarily feminine energy, and you have a wound around being seen, around stepping into your full power. Yes, on one level, on one dimension, on one perspective, that is your personal wound that lives in your nervous system. And in the greater context of society and of history, women for a long time, the only way that they could gain power is by marrying a rich or powerful man. So they would do whatever they could to acquire that man, which often meant being pinned against other women. There was a lot of fighting between women, between sisters, because we are now in competition against each other for power. And then once you got the man, you had to do anything that you could to keep him. We see this in music as well. It's very fascinating to look at in music. Beyonce has songs, Rihanna has songs, these like bow down bitches, I'm queen, bow down. This discord relationship between women, and this is known as the sister wound, right? So this now shows up as, can I be seen in my full power in front of other sisters without fear of judgment, without fear that they're gonna tear me down for it, without fear of what's going to happen? Can I witness my sisters in their full power without judgment, without shame, without resentment, without jealousy? Right? So these are psychic structures that have been imposed upon us because of like thousands of years of history and societal conditioning and all of these things that we were born into. So yes, there is a degree of personal unconscious and personal shadow that needs to be worked through, and it exists in the context of the larger cultural collective unconscious shadow. I mean, for goodness sakes, gossiping is like such a huge trait of women in society, right? Another reflection of how we've been pinned against each other, and there's no shame in this. It just is, and it's something that we can bring our awareness to. We can see how it's showing up in our lives, and when we simply bring awareness to it, it automatically begins to shift. This process is something that is unfolding whether you're conscious of it or not, and just bringing the conscious awareness there simply speeds it up. There's really not much else that you have to do. I am finding the deepest source of medicine for this is attunement. It takes alignment in self, so you know what is you and what is other, but this coming together in connection, in attunement. Can we meet in connection, and can we attune to each other in this heart coherence with each other, in this shared heart space, and in this safe attunement of witnessing and being witnessed? This stuff naturally arises. I'm realizing that all of this wounding, everything that we're talking about, this Kali, Chiron, Eris, the sun, it lives in the nervous system. And I think that we think that we have to do all this healing work. We have to like go grunge it up and do the healing, and sometimes that's necessary, but I'm noticing that what has been more powerful for me lately is this attunement with others, this shared heart space, that when we feel witnessed, when we feel held, when we're in a space of love, a non-judgmental space, these things naturally arise. It's just attunement. So I offer this to you as medicine that hopefully you can seek in yourself. Do you have a trusted soul friend? Do you have people that you can meet in these shared heart spaces? How do you cultivate safe space around yourself? How do you cultivate a field of love around yourself to let the tender places arise naturally, right? Like, think about a tender like spot on your body or a tender heart. You don't want to like go poking at it and hurt it more. You want to offer it the nurturing, the care that it needs to heal itself, to allow the tenderness to exist. There is a lot of shadow leading up to this new moon, so do your shadow work practices, get into these deeper places, do the alchemization. It is going to serve you profoundly. The doorway is open, the window is open. Take advantage of this energy while it is here. Come the new moon on Friday, we want to be planting seeds. We're still in this big Aries forward momentum energy. What seeds are you planting? What vision are you calling in? And Aries energy, it is action oriented. So the way that we want to plant seeds is by taking action in the physical world. That is how we're seeding this future vision. Now come Sunday, Monday, 2 days after this full moon, Mars, action-oriented part of self, Mercury, mind, come together with Saturn. Saturn is the boundary of reality. Saturn is Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. It is the hard work that you have to do in order to make the dream manifest, right? So in Karate Kid, he had to do wax on, wax off so long, and he didn't like it, and he hated it, and he wanted to rebel against it. But that continuous wax on, wax off, that hard work prepared him for that final fight scene when he could do the cool move. He wouldn't have been able to do that with the wax on, wax off. Saturn is Mr. Miyagi, the hard work that it takes to master something, to make the dream manifest. So when Mars, action-oriented part of self, and Mercury, the mind, come together with Saturn, Sunday, Monday, it is going to be a reality check. Where are you at? Let it just be a check-in. Where am I at, truthfully, with this dream that I'm calling in and the reality? Are they existing on two separate realms and there's this huge gap between the two? Or am I taking steps every day to close the gap and bring the two together? Let me tell ya, doing your shadow work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is going to set you up real nicely for this reality check. Avoiding it might get you a little slap in the face. However, if you're someone who has been doing the work, who has been showing up, who's done the shedding, who's done Year of the Snake, who has been taking the action and calling in the dream and doing what needs to take, Saturn might give you a really positive reality check. Saturn might tell you that you're actually farther along than you think you are, and you can take a breath. So come Sunday, Monday, just be open to that reality check on whatever side of the coin it lands. We are in the midst of some big energy, and I am just offering you all my love. I am hoping that you are finding ways to stay grounded and stay aligned with your truth, and I really hope you are riding the fire and taking advantage of this momentum and this energy that is here. We are all creating new earth together. We're creating this new paradigm and this new reality, and whether you feel seen in it or not, the work that you are doing matters, and I honor you deeply for showing up, for doing it, and I hope to connect soon in community online. I'd love to hear how this is landing for you down in the comments below. I'd love to connect over social media. You'll find my information in the bio. And if you like this content, if it resonated, it would mean so much to me. If you liked and subscribed, it really supports me. All right, love you so much.